team will come. Send out volunteers.
We might have spoken. Lenny Girardi?
Oh, yes.
Central Vermont Public Service.
Oh, they do? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I can't remember whether ever got
Some questions about.
Welcome. Thanks everyone for coming to this second almost annual Passumpsic Valley River Steward Awards recognition night. The first one was held in April 1998 at Linden State College, and I think it was a whopping success. I think we recognized something on the order of 4 or 5, actually, when everybody was included, probably about a dozen landowners along the Passumpsic River main stem. I guess for starters, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Lenny Girardi, and I'm the president of the Passumpsic Valley Land Trust. The Passumpsic Valley Land Trust is kind of the parent organization for this Passumpsic Valley Riverway program that is what's kind of spawning this awards night. Passumpsic Valley Land Trust is a nonprofit 501c3 conservation organization. It's a membership organization. We've been in existence since 1993, so we're about 6.5 years old. And the mission of the Passumpsic Valley Land Trust is to promote the maintenance and improvement of water quality in the Passumpsic River, to encourage the provision for public access to the waters, to encourage recreational activity along it. The way that we do that is by working with private landowners and with municipalities. We can acquire easements and land in fee. And we are a land trust. That's our principal function. And we have had a bit of activity that maybe some of you have seen talked about. We've gotten some pretty good press coverage through the years in the Caledonian Record, but some of our higher profile acquisitions are we're an easement holder up at Cow Mountain Pond. That was the first in the nation forest legacy program, where the town of Granby acquired a large tract of forest land, and including this Cow Mountain Pond, and we monitor the easement for that would prevent logging in close proximity to the pond. We also own a number of parcels in fee. We own a parcel right along the Passumpsic River down in the village of Passumpsic, upon which we've developed a fishing platform. So that's actually a little, almost like a little community park. We own some river bank that we maintain for its ecological water quality values in the town of Kirby. As a matter of fact, most of the Moose River frontage on the south side of the Moose River in the town of Kirby. There's not a lot of Kirby right down there, but several thousand feet. And then we also have a parcel in the middle of the Arlington district in St. Johnsbury, which is it's a residential area where we acquired this 33 acres. It's kind of like a reserve. We call it Arlington Woods, in the center of this residential subdivision, and we're using that as kind of a natural area and for educational, its educational benefits on ecological and natural topics. The St. Johnsbury School District visits it a lot, and it's a nice amenity certainly for all of the folks that live in Arlington and for the rest of the residents of St. Johnsbury, and hey, anybody else for that matter. The Passumpsic Valley Riverway, as I said, is kind of a spin-off of the land trust itself, and it came into being in 1997. It was a concept that some of the directors tossed around as we were thinking about our own obligation as riverfront owners. And it's probably gone through a bit of evolution in our thinking in a couple of years, where at first I think we were thinking of it as a kind of a green belt, a series of connected parcels along the entire length of the Passumpsic River that would afford certainly a buffer strip, a vegetated buffer strip that's good for the critters in the river. It's good for the aesthetics of the area and good for recreation. But a strip of connected parcels, and also where the public coming down the river would potentially have opportunity to move from parcel to parcel. This river steward program has kind of evolved from the original Riverway concept, where we decided it would be nice if the Passumpsic Valley Land Trust and the Riverway could form almost an association of riverfront owners who shared kind of a common interest in the values of the Passumpsic River. It's recreational, it's natural, ecological, it's scenic and economic potential. And so we invited riverfront owners. We did an inventory of who actually was out there owning land along the river, and we did an inventory, and then we basically made an invitation to folks to become river stewards, which was basically an invitation for them to advertise that they're applying good land use practices that encourage all those values I talked about, the water quality, the fish and wildlife habitat, the recreational potential. And so the outgrowth of all of that is that as time goes on, we see people who are really vested in the Passumpsic River and who are doing lots of good things with their ownership. Some of the folks that have come tonight are really, they are the folks that are doing those good things. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over, I guess, to Mike Miller. I'll make a couple of introductions first. Dottie Weinstein is the Vice President of the Passumpsic Valley Land Trust. Ellen Doyle is one of the other 7 directors of the Land Trust. And Mike Miller is kind of the guy in charge of the Riverway initiative. And he's the guy on the ground that's been talking. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mike.
Also,
Thank you.
Jack Lesnick and Jim Fearon, who are Riverway Committee
Yes.
members, along with Ginny Elliott, who's
Excuse me.
provided the refreshments tonight.
All of these
I think
folks
I've got
are the ones that are carrying the Riverway initiative forward and kind of making it evolve and making it happen. And thank you. And I will put in a plug for the Passumpsic Valley Land Trust. As I said, it is a membership organization. And if any of you are not members, we welcome you becoming members of the Land Trust. We can certainly furnish you with information about it. And we would welcome your active participation in it as we look for future initiatives, acquisitions, easements, to kind of preserve some of the potential of the Passumpsic River. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Lenny. I'll try to be a little quicker, which is unusual for me, but I want to first add to the fact, besides the Land Trust and the Riverway Group, that what's particularly important, and perhaps the most important component of this whole program, is the stewards themselves. Everybody here in this room tonight, and I think I've personally met or indirectly met every one of you through walks on the river, which is what I find the most interesting part of the program, getting out on the ground, sharing information, hearing your ideas, and really trying to make the river valley itself a better community and environment and watershed for everybody. And ultimately, the site visits, as Lenny referred to, I've been doing, and the rest of the volunteers, is what's, I think, a lot of the on-the-ground pragmatic decisions are being made to advance the whole program, i.e. you, the stewards, and the Riverway program. And I have a list here in front of me. I'll go through some of the highlights quickly of some of the people that I've met with and been very impressed with what they've had to offer, as well as their receptiveness to the Riverway program as a whole. There's a number, East Burke, there's a great number of Riverway enthusiasts up here, as it turns out. They seem to be dominating the watershed, and that's wonderful, because this is, if I were to exemplify the Passumpsic River watershed and try to create a prototype by which we can all aspire to, I would say the East Burke area and the East Branch of Passumpsic would be one of the first areas that I would look to as a model for pursuit. Some of the folks, and I probably won't be able to hit everybody, and I apologize for anybody I missed, but all of you that have responded to the Riverway program and have expressed interest in maintaining the concepts that we've passed along are on my list here. And these are Nancy Anastasia of East Burke, Susan Gallagher, Clifford and Mary Rexford, the Town of Burke Selectmen, Ann Harper, and I think there was one other from Burke, Robert Kahn, as well as Jack and Jean Davis. I saw Jean earlier tonight. Norbert Koch and Jean Misserelli, and Carlos and Betty Bean, Jeffrey and Diane Bean. As you get the idea here, they're well represented in our group of stewards.
They received awards last year.
And a lot of these people have received steward awards last year. That's correct. In addition to the East Burke contingency, I'd like to mention some of the other folks who have expressed tremendous interest in the program and their cooperation and would like to work with us in the future on projects, and that is the Northern Vermont Railroad, Central Vermont Public Service, Paul Downing up at the Wildflower Inn, Gary Calkins of Lindenville, Linden Town School, Waste Systems Incorporated of Vermont. They're based in St. Johnsbury. The Jacquet family, which runs the Caledonia Kiln on Route 5. Joe Prescott and his wife Jacqueline down in Waterford. The Town of St. Johnsbury Beautification Committee. Thomas and Donna Villeneuve in St. Johnsbury. Noella Dusso, and as well as Mickey Murphy of Lindenville. Mrs. Earl Morey in St. Johnsbury. We've done a project there as well with tree transplantings. Ken Parr and Reginald Welch, Doug and Jane Geddes, and I think that's about everybody. There's a couple, actually, Monty Warman, and Richard and Gary Burrington. And if I missed anybody, I apologize. But basically, these are the people, in addition to the ones that I haven't mentioned yet that we'll talk about and will make up the better part of our program tonight, are the ones who have made the program, in my opinion, work. Without the on the ground, the landowners, and the willingness and the receptiveness to our ideas, this couldn't happen. So I am deeply ingratiated to you folks here tonight, and I appreciate the time to come out, particularly, as I was commenting earlier, when there's a competing interest tonight in the Hudson River Valley and down near the outlet, actually, where I think Bronx Stadium is located. So I appreciate that. I realize there's a lot going on, and a lot of other people that couldn't make it tonight either because of conflicting interests, but expressed their interest in being here. So with that, I'd like to pass the ball to Jim Furin, who's been integral in the Passumpsic Valley Riverway project since its inception. Jim?
Thank you. As a retired park and recreation director, because I look at the whole Passumpsic Valley as a greenway, a continuous linear park, and the committee has to jump on me every once in a while for looking at it that way. I look at it as eventually becoming a river parkway or a river greenway or something operated to hold it all together. And I don't know whether that will ever happen, but certainly the stewards are a big part of that. Jack and Jean Davis, we looked at their 2.5 acres right opposite the lumber mill here, very visible area, and I think we have some plans for getting volunteers in there to do some transplanting of trees, possibly this fall. And it's a very pretty area. Some of the area is lacking tree plantings along there, but I'd like to present to Jean a Passumpsic Valley Stewards sign.
Thank you.
And you
We'll
may
come help you
mount,
put it in the ground if you
you may mount that facing the river or facing the 114, whichever.
More people will see it.
Robert Kahn, is Robert here? I don't see him. He was to get one. He has 15 acres. And of course, he runs Esker Automotive. That's a good Riverway term. An Esker. And Norb Cook has another 15 acres just north of Bob. Was also very cooperative in showing us his property, and we looked 15 acres and mostly wooded, and it's really an extension of those awards that we gave last year. Ken Parr Jr. owns a chunk just south of the recreation area in East Burke here, and we haven't caught up with him yet. He's a non-resident. We talk with his father all the time. The others that we looked, the other properties, of course, that we looked at are Carlos and Betty Bean, which received an award last year, Jeff and Diane Bean, Gary Burrington, and Monty and Ruth Warman. And they all received their blue signs. I'm not sure what you are going into now. Do you want to get into the other presentations? Or that
Sounds
takes
good.
care of the stewards, I think.
Yes.
Unless somebody else has one that I've forgotten. It's not in, I didn't look. Do we have signs going to any of your lists?
I think, other than, is there anybody on my list that I mentioned? That
Sue Gallagher?
Oh, Susan, yes, right, Susan would receive one, my apologies.
Thank you.
Those signs, of course, are a result of a seventh graders' effort in a contest that we conducted with 200 and something entries. I don't remember a lot. And we're not providing the 4x4 and the metal posts and so on to go with this, but take your choice. I think we agreed that maybe it would be most effective for canoeists and so on going down the river, or if you have a trail that goes past on your property or something where you pick up people that you want to know that you are a steward.
Thank you, Jim. I'd just like to say a quick word for the next portion of our night is developed for what I consider the most exemplary stewards in our program. These are the ones who have been on the ground doing, working in the trenches proactively to better the environment on their property. And we have chosen 5 stewards this evening as noteworthy of receiving special recognition. And to start that off, I'm going to introduce Dottie Weinstein, who is actually one of the founders of the Riverway program, and she has been the outreach coordinator and been the vehicle by which this whole process has occurred over the past year and a half now. So Dottie, if you'd like to begin with our first steward recognition for 1999, pass that to you.
Glad to. I'd like to recognize Linden Institute tonight as a 1999 Steward Special Award. Linden Institute deserves recognition for its recently created nature trail and stream bank restoration work on their campus. The new nature trail was created adjacent to Mathewson's Pond, and it transports one to a place where ongoing natural processes can be easily viewed and appreciated. Built in 1999, the trail beckons one through a diverse array of habitat types, including coniferous uplands, cattail marsh, and a pond resident to beavers and countless aquatic life. The project was conducted by the environmental science and biology classes at the Institute and a multitude of contributing faculty and classes. and it was funded through a grant from the Massachusetts Environmental Trust. We're grateful that they ventured north of their border from Massachusetts. The Linden Institute Art Department crafted the stunning trailhead mural of a Vermont wetland depicting a giant bull moose and a remarkably lifelike version of an adult beaver. The Building and Trades Department provided the trailhead shelter and sculpted the site markers which aid trail users in focusing on the unique features which have been identified and are so abundant on the trail. You were certain to witness a host of intriguing and thought-provoking natural inhabitants and processes, including ongoing forest and pond succession, mammals, songbirds, amphibians, snags, nurse logs, and several forms of fungi, including mushrooms and lichens. The beautiful informative trail map and guide proposes stimulating questions to make you contemplate the many wonders of our natural systems. Be sure to visit this natural attraction in the near future if you have not already done so. In addition to the nature trail, in the past couple of years, Linden Institute has undertaken stream bank restoration work on its riverbank along the Passumpsic River. Past land use practices which have removed native trees and shrubs have resulted in stream bank failure along different reaches of the river, creating erosion and siltation and of aquatic habitats downstream. Through the Natural Resources Conservation Service and the Natural Resources Conservation District, Linden Institute has partnered to stabilize several hundred feet of riverbank in an ecologically sound manner. The technique used has involved cabling softwood trees, i.e. tree revetments, into the toe of the eroding bank, thereby ceasing toe failure and preventing further collapse of the bank proper. Linden Institute has expressed a strong commitment to continuing this type of restoration work and even restoring sections of floodplain forest by partnering with the above organizations and the Passumpsic Valley Riverway. Linden Institute can take pride in the exemplary action demonstrated through its educational and conservation projects. Its continued commitment to improving the health of the valley will benefit all of us in the Passumpsic River watershed. So we thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you, Dottie.
You're welcome.
And thank you again, Linden Institute, for all the fine work. At this point, I think the next Steward Award will be presented by Jim. Are you ready, Jim?
Sure. I think we probably ought to tell them that we're not operating on a shoestring here. Dottie, you want to quickly review who we have gotten funding from?
It's definitely
For the
should say that.
Riverway
We have a
project?
Vermont watershed grant that is a grant funded by the conservation license plates. And this is actually the second year. We received a grant in the second year of that program. And one of their larger grants, and it's actually funding Mike's directorship of the Riverway. And we were very pleased to get that funding. We also have had a Connecticut River Partnership grant. That's the Connecticut River Joint Commissions is an organization very active in the Connecticut River watershed and has some federal pass-through kind of money to give to projects, and we've had some small grants from them. So yes, we're really rolling in it.
What was the one from Massachusetts or Connecticut or something
Oh,
that
this
just
one,
surprised the heck
Linden
out of us?
Institute got that grant,
Yeah.
so I don't know much about that in Massachusetts.
No,
Environmental Trust. Also, and
The one-
you took the wind out of my sails a little bit,
Oh.
Jim. I was going to get to that later.
Okay.
That's fine. You
Yeah.
saved one for me for later.
somebody from Massachusetts send us money, we're really weird.
Oh, right, oh,
The Fields Pond.
Fields Pond Foundation, sorry.
The awards that I'm going to present are one to the village of Lindenville and the others to the town of Linden. And I see Craig is here to carry both of these home. The village we wish to recognize them for their interest, and Ellen is probably behind this in promoting a canoe access at Russell Park. Now, Russell Park is the ball field behind the town offices. You know, and I got sick of calling it that. I thought it was too tongue-twisting. So the trustees did agree to rename the area Russell Park. It now has a picnic area, and with a picnic table, some tree plantings, and a very easy access with parking. And during the summer season, when they're playing ball, there's even a nice facility there, if you know what I mean. Public access, of course, to the river is one of the prime objectives of the Riverway. And we commend the village for its enthusiasm and effort on the part of the village crew to construct this area and to support it, pick up the litter, empty the litter receptacles, and provide an area. We hope to get some signage so that people will be able to find the access area. And we hope eventually to have one up further upstream near the covered bridge on 114. We're looking at a possible water trail, of course, that will go from East Burke all the way down to Barnet. And this water trail needs accesses. People need to be able to put in and take out for various short trips. Not everybody can spend 3 days going from here down to Barnet. And you've got to have wheels on it from here to Lyndonville because it is rather shallow at times. This summer was no pleasure, and we call it a water trail, of course, because there are a lot of portages between here and Barnet. A lot of dams. So there's a lot of slack water in some places. We sincerely hope that this access project will become an example to other communities and as to what they can do to promote the recreational use of the river. And it gives me a great pleasure to present this to Craig for the Lyndonville trustees. Craig, thank you.
Thank you.
The town of Lyndon, after we got going with a welcome sign and the town crew and so on, we thought that we would keep them working on something other than roads. The town highway department really bent over backwards to do work on the covered bridge sites. The Randall Bridge site on 114 was all redone with new fence posts and safety features put up there. It does act as a snowmobile crossing, so we needed to be sure of the safety when those were crossing. We hope, of course, to have eventually a canoe fishing access at that location. Probably it will end up north of on the other side of Barrington Bridge Road. But those two facilities together have been very encouraging. And then at the Schoolhouse Bridge on South Wheelock Road, the town crews, the highway crews really bent over backwards to make a nice site out of that. And that was redone, topsoil was hauled in, reseeded, flower beds created, and you wouldn't recognize the area a year later. When Dr. Elliott from the clinic said, well, I'm going to get some trees for this site, the town crews came in with a backhoe, dug the holes, and it was a good thing because it carried away a whole truckload of stone. Because of course we were planting those trees on the old roadbed to the covered bridge. So believe me, they had plenty of base on that one. But the trees are doing well. These are 10 or 12 foot sugar maples that were put in there. I mean, good sized trees, and of any summer having to put the trees in with the drought conditions, Dr. Elliott really outdid himself, and the town highway crew also in watering those trees. And we really appreciate it. Preserving historic structures, and I'll finish up here in a second. Preserving historic structures is a very important goal of the waterway. We're looking at areas like a 1790s mill site and other historic structures that are still here that need to be saved. And of course the covered bridges are a big part of that, and there are 5 of them in Linden. In fact, Linden, of course, calls itself the covered bridge capital of the Northeast Kingdom. So, Craig, it gives me pleasure again to present you for the town of Linden this stewardship award, and we hope that Bruce particularly will be proud of that, because he was certainly involved in promoting the development of the covered bridges. Thank you. Yeah, also, if you want to put on your office door a stewardship award.
Okay, we'll do that.
They could be posted, particularly at the access.
Okay.
And I suppose one at each of the covered bridges, since that property is either owned by the town or the village. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. I also wanted to note, in addition to the fine work that Jim just elaborated upon, that the town of Linden has also done an incredible amount of work on water resources through the town plan process, and which I was involved in. And I wanted to make special mention of that, because we have acknowledged that during our steward meetings in the Riverway program. And I want to give a special thanks to Craig, and also the Town of Linden Select Board and the Town of Linden Planning Board, because I think they did excellent work. A lot of the concepts that were embedded in the water resources language in the town plan now in the Town of Linden, I think, are on par, if not ahead of many of the town plans throughout the state. So that's another concept that's worthy of mention, and I appreciate that. Plus, I also have to mention that because there's so many from the East Burke contingency here, I've got to beef up the Linden contingency, as that's where I grew up, and so I have to give credit where credit's due. At this point, I would like to, we have 2 stewards left that we haven't acknowledged yet that have done proactive work. The work that they've done is more, aside from the educational, which Linden Institute has done, and the stream bank restoration work, and the covered bridge work and town plan work, this has been a stream bank, hardcore stream bank project. And there's a tremendous number of players, and I probably will be remiss of mentioning every one of them, but the next 2 stewards we'd like to acknowledge through a brief slide program, and I promise I'll keep it brief. We have, I think, about 19 minutes before game time, so those of you who still have that on your calendar and are still looking, I see a little bit, we'll be able to still make that. So at this point, I'll fire up the slides and just talk about both of those stewards as we go along. Is it okay if I shut the lights off here, and then maybe we could get a dimmer switch going on the other light there? Great. Yeah, that's good. I think everybody can see that okay, can't we? You see, David? This is not atypical of a Vermont river. You see eroding banks on the right and deposition on the left. and the two go hand in hand. And this is one of our stewards that has done some great work, and in partnership with the Vermont Leadership Center, which I'll show in a minute, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the Environmental Protection Agency, which provided funding through the Section 319 portion of the Clean Water Act, we were able to accomplish stream bank restoration work on this site. And if you look on the right, that's what we're going to be looking at as we go through the slides. And this is Arthur Elliott's property in Lindenville, immediately below the covered bridge by the Lindbergh Motel, about 1,000 feet below that.
Sandburn.
The Sanborn covered bridge, that's right. This is just to show you the before shot of the eroding banks on the right. Now you can see that where there's grass, there's bank erosion going on, and it's happening on a very large scale here. So this was a site that needed a lot of immediate attention. And the other steward, that is the remaining fifth steward that we'll discuss tonight, is Jim Towns, and he's on the opposite side of the river, and he's got a very similar situation going on here, again due to past land use practices, which basically is there's mowing to the bank, so there's no woody vegetation on the bank, grass isn't holding the soil in place, and as you can see, large clumps of sod falling into the river. A little further downstream, this actually, I've been told, is called Florida Point, and it's right by the big turn as you go from Lindbergh Motel towards Linden Institute, between Lindbergh Motel and the covered bridge. And that peninsula there is very much like the shape of the Florida Peninsula. And it's, as you can see, tremendous amount of erosion. Again, notice the land use, and that's what's creating the whole situation. So how do we get started on a project like this? First, you have to get trees. There's a new technique now called tree revetments, which Dottie mentioned earlier. LI has been using this, and a number of other organizations throughout the state of Vermont have been using this as well. And that tree revetments is a fancy word. Anything in French to me is fancy, and that is a French word for to reclothe, and that's what's going on with these trees here, is to reclothe the bank. This is Kerry Smith on the right there looking at the truck in the back with his son Damon. He's a logger in Wheelock, and Darcy Nelson is a trucker from Reigate providing the transport. Here's Darcy unloading trees. I have to mention I have to provide sympathy for Darcy. When you call up a trucker and you say you've got trees to haul and don't tell the rest of the story, you can get a lot of remarks later. I didn't, but I was up front with him, and I told him that not only do we have trees with the limbs still on them, which was the first question mark I could see in his mind, but I said, we're going to have to drop them off singly along the bank when we take them off the truck. Most truckers are used to just taking the trees and piling them. So that was question mark number 2 he had. And then number 3 is, I asked him if he could lay the trees along the bank, so move his truck every 20 feet or so. All through this is Darcy Nelson from Reigate. There was not one complaint. He was very enthusiastic about it, and everything went better than planned. And in addition to Darcy's work here, Kerry Smith, I want to add, if you asked him for 100 trees, he'd charge you for 100, but give you 125 trees. So really, it was kind of the community concept going on here, which was real nice to get the stream bank repaired. Now, you're on the stream bank, and you have your trees, you need labor. And I'd like to introduce to you, this is one crew of many from the Vermont Leadership Center. And I want to point out tonight we have Luke O'Brien with us. He's the Field Projects Coordinator for the Vermont Leadership Center, sitting in front of me. And this is the labor source that gets the job done on these kind of projects. They worked on this stream bank project, and they worked on a lot of different projects throughout the Northeast Kingdom and northern New Hampshire this summer. And I was fortunate to be able to link up with them, and these are 12 to 15-year-olds from the region. I think there's a few folks right in the immediate area. Sutton, a lot of them were from Island Pond. Newport area, northern New Hampshire. And the crew leader in the back is Roland Clark, and he is a Linden State College student. He was acting as an intern and providing oversight for the students from the Vermont Leadership Center. This is the working component of this whole project. It's simply a steel cable with a little anchor. That's what holds the trees in place. I think it's a little less than 1/4 of an inch in diameter, and that's aptly named a duckbill anchor. And here's a crew installing a tree revetment on the bank. The key is to get the bottom of the bank so that the whole bank doesn't slide. And as you can see, there's a drive bar there that's simply used to pound the anchor in place. And we're still on Arthur Elliott's side of the river now. This is just showing cable cutters. And another group involved in the project was the Natural Resources Conservation Service. Tim McKay, shown on the right there, giving some orientation and instructions for installation. And they do a lot of stream bank work and partner with a lot of different organizations that are involved in this type of work. We're starting at the downstream end, and as you can see, the trees are ready to go there to the left. Hardest part was always getting in the water, even in the middle of the summer. The Passumpsic, I was surprised, it stayed quite cool all summer long. Just to show you what works and what doesn't, this is just to show by scale how deep the roots are going on this tree. It's a box elder, and you can see, I asked, I think it was Zachary, if I remember his name right, he told me he was 5'7", and those roots are easily 6 feet deep. Now, that's why trees work on stream banks and grass doesn't. So it's just a great example showing how it's scouring to the right of it where there isn't any trees, and then that tree is trying to hold its own all by itself there with nothing on the left of it. Here's Nina. She was another crew leader, and they're walking a tree down, again starting at the downstream end to install that. Again, just doing the toe. Here's Justin was cabling in a tree. The idea was to get it right to the bottom, and that wasn't always easy to anchor it in as deeply as you could get it. This case here, it was easy because the river was so low. Contrary to what Jim was commenting on about transplanting trees this year, which was probably the worst year to plant trees, this was probably the best year, and perhaps in my life, that I'll ever see for doing tree revetment work because the rivers were so low. Just simply dropping a tree in, again on Arthur's site, and placing it. A lot of hands made light work. Moving upstream, we can see to the lower left, we've completed that portion, and now we're moving up along the stream bank. See all the sod on the bank there? That would be gone next year if this wasn't done this year. Generally, we had 2 crews, one up on top organizing trees, and one on bottom, the river crew installing them. I think the Leadership Center began in '91, Luke, I'm not sure, but they've been providing this kind of service for the last 7 or 8 years. And this is, again, the Leadership Center, walking a tree into place, just barely able to stay above water there on the right. And let gravity do the work here. That section there is almost completed. This is on Jim Towns' side, coming up Florida Point, what we looked at earlier. As you can see, the butts of the trees face upstream so that the limbs don't get broken off in the process during high water. And some of the benefits. I think this muskrat was actually sitting on the bank watching us work and waiting for us to complete the job, because the very next day, if I recollect, he was in there swimming around, kind of setting up his shop. A couple of aquatic critters we found. There's Laura. She was making friends with a toad. And I might add, the Leadership Center was keeping data on amphibians as well, so they were recording their sites as they went along and mapping their finds. And this was just a common toad, but again was setting up shop right in the revetments. I don't know if anybody recognizes that. That's again another resident critter of the Passumpsic River, and that's a moth larva. The big Cecropia moths that you sometimes see flying around at night, that's what that is right there. Still in his immature stage. And with that metamorphosis, you can see we changed the form of the riverbank as well with our revetments. This is the completed side of Arthur's section, 300 feet of river. And on Jim's side, we did a total of 1,100 feet. We spent most of our time on Jim's side of the river, and that's the completed revetment there. Doesn't look fancy, but it does the job. It's 90% or better successful on all the sites that it's been installed on. Simply cabling in softwood trees, overlaying them, and then working from the downstream up. And that will hold that bank in place for next spring. So that now we've fixed that in time, it won't go anywhere. That bank won't continue to move to the left and take the hayfield away. This was after Floyd. You can see we built up literally 2 feet of bank just in that one runoff event right there on the right. You can see it buried the upstream trees. I think even the second one down, it's completely buried. So that bank will now start to come back, and it will have a gradual slope, and then we can get trees planted on it, and it's will be ready for the spring for plantings. Better shot there. And finally, the next phase, which will be next year, is the buffer work, and that's to be planting trees along the bank, and we've already staked them off so that when they came through with their last cut of the summer, they were staying within more than 35 feet away from the edge of the river. That's it. A lot of partnerships. And I regret to say that neither Jim Towns, just turn this off here. I regret to say that neither Jim nor Arthur could make it tonight, and but they both sent along their sympathy for not being here, and they wish to thank everybody, all the partners involved in the program, and I thank them as well for showing interest in the project and for providing their services. I didn't mention that, if you're wondering, their contribution to the project, in addition to answering the phone countless times and answering the door when I'd be, knocking away to get them to sign a contract or do this or do that, is that they also will be providing trees from their land in the springtime as in-kind contribution for the project. So those are going to go from other sources, other areas that they own, and those trees will be transplanted of local stock, local genetics, and they'll be best adapted for the site. And they'll be put on the stream bank in the springtime. And I wanted to mention as well that St. Johnsbury Academy's Human Services Program has been providing interns for that as well. And we've already been preparing root pruning trees this fall so that they're not as stressed in the springtime for spring transplanting purposes. So there'll be another presentation more encompassing of this entire project in the spring. I noticed Roland came in the back there, and I just want to again mention the Vermont Leadership Center and the fine work that Roland and Luke and everybody up there did this summer with providing the labor force for this project. Without it, it simply would not have happened. And again, the Environmental Protection Agency Section 319 program for this project, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Partners for Wildlife program. There's a lot of programs out there, and these biologists and water quality personnel are very excited about doing this work, but they need people to simply give them a ring and get these projects going, and the resources are there, and as I mentioned, the Leadership Center, labor services are there to make these projects happen. So that's really encouraging to me. I just wanted to say one more thing that, again, referenced earlier by Jim. The Riverway program is financed primarily by the Vermont Watershed Grants Program, i.e. the License Plate Fund, and that's providing support for my position. And I want to thank Dottie again for all the fine work she's done in making this project happen, per se. And it all started over breakfast a couple of years ago with Land Trust members, with Dottie, Lenny, Alan Boy, actually, as I understand it, engineered the idea of the Riverway concept, focusing on this section of the Land Trust, and there was, I'm missing somebody.
Bruce Ralston.
Bruce?
One of the original board members of the Land Trust.
Right, thank you. And so Bruce Ralston was also one of the 4 people involved in the creation of the concept of the Riverway project. What I have seen personally while trekking all up and down the watershed is a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done, and yet a tremendous amount of willingness on the part of everyone in the room here to do the work. Without that, it simply would not happen. And the time is ripe right now for this Riverway program. I can't emphasize that enough. And the feedback I'm getting from all of you has been overwhelmingly encouraging. And I want to just personally thank you all for that. And I look out at all of you as well, and I don't see separate villages and towns throughout the watershed as I have in the past, perhaps as when I was growing up, that here's one town, here's another town. Suddenly it occurs to you, you're all in one valley, and everything is a continuum. And the effort by everybody to do the work and the restoration work that needs to be done in the watershed involves a continuum, and we're all part of a large community within the basin, and I really see that in the response I'm getting from the land site visits I'm doing. And I want to just emphasize that I think it's just been a new level of new vision, if you will, for me personally, to see that collaborative effort as a watershed community, I think is the best way to put it. We're all part of a watershed community, and that's, I think, looking at it without those boundaries that we see between towns is the way to solve problems and not put boundaries on our thought processes. And it's the continuum that's going to enable us to accomplish the goals that we all have set forth as part of the Riverway program to improve the health of the overall watershed, the environment, and the community at large. With that, I think I'll close, and how about that, 8 o'clock? So if anybody has a TV with them, they aren't going to miss 1 minute of the game. And then, as Ginny pointed out, I want to also thank Ginny for the fine work, all the work on the refreshments, and please, everybody, don't let her down by not visiting the refreshment area as you leave. And thank you all again for all your effort and support.